Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. Coming off a Green Monday. How green is going to depend on how this game ends. As I'm recording this, the Dodgers are in the bottom of the 7th. It's 2-2. If the Dodgers win, it'll be a big day, plus 2.1 units. If they lose, I'll finish barely in the green, plus 0.20. So it'll be a green day regardless. I'll put the final results on the screen. But anyway, let's move on to Tuesday. 15 games. Tuesday is my second favorite baseball day to bet of the week, as you know. Let's go through them.
Welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
First up, Baltimore at Philadelphia. O's, Phillies. We got Kyle Gibson pitching against Taijuan Walker. Phillies open up as very slight favorites here at home, minus 120. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We're looking at a 2-2 tie after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Phillies. So as we know, Kyle Gibson's been having some problems recently. If you look at his numbers from his last 6 starts in comparison to the previous 6, I mean, it's a huge jump. We're looking at a 7.03 ERA in his last 6 starts. I will say the 4.04 expected FIP indicates that he has had some bad luck. But like I said, an ERA over 7 and a 150 whip. Can't really talk your way out of those kind of numbers. And splits-wise, this is going to be a tough spot for Kyle Gibson. His worst splits on the year are on the road against left-handed bats. 390 WOBA and a 166 whip on the road against lefties. As we know, the Phillies start 5 lefties in their lineup, including some of the most important pieces. Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, you already know. That being said, there is some good news for Kyle Gibson here. Phillies bats have completely cooled off against right-handed pitching. On the last 14 days, the Phillies are just 26th in WRC+, 25th in isolated power, 25th in on-base percentage against righties. The Phillies had a couple explosive offensive games against righties that were skewing the numbers, fooling some people, myself included. If you look at the last 12 righty starters to pitch against the Phillies, 61 2/3 innings pitched, a 2.77 ERA, a 107 whip. So I know Kyle Gibson has been terrible, but I actually kind of like the spot for him against the Phillies lineup that I think might be a bit overvalued. But it's not all bad news for the Phillies. They do have Taijuan Walker pitching, and he's making a home start. He's been excellent at Citizens Bank Park this year. You can see he's got a 5.25 ERA and a 144 whip on the road. Those numbers dropped to a 2.76 and a 104 at home. So he's been great in this ballpark. And then you add on the fact that just like the Phillies, Baltimore has also really cooled off against right-handed pitching recently. In the last 14 days, they're just 28th in WRC+, 27th in isolated power, and 28th in on-base percentage. Baltimore has gotten really hot against lefties and completely cooled off against righties. As far as matchup history goes, even more good news for Taijuan Walker. He's had a lot of success against this Orioles team. On his last 5 starts against the Orioles, he's 4-0 with an 0.92 ERA and an 0.82 whip. Truly dominant against this Baltimore team. Now we get to the bad news. Taijuan Walker's been looking a lot more vulnerable recently. You can see in his last 3 starts in comparison to the previous ones. His last 3, he's got an ERA and an even 5, 139 whip. Those aren't terrible numbers, but certainly a serious drop-off from what we were seeing from Walker in the previous 5. And it gets even worse for Taijuan Walker. Listen to this. You want to know what he's been struggling with specifically? Left-handed bats. In his last 3 starts against lefties, 436 WOBA, 2.3 home runs per 9, 213 whip, and a 609 expected FIP. Lefties have had no problems getting to Taijuan Walker in his last few starts. Why do I bring that up? Because Baltimore starts 7 lefties in their lineup. So I can't believe it looking at some of these numbers, but I think the O's are going to score runs on Taijuan Walker and Philly here. Now, when we take a look at the bullpen matchup, no question Baltimore has the edge here. Basically, ever since Alvarado got hurt for the Phillies last month, they've been in this downhill slope. That bullpen was sitting at top 7 or 8 for most of June. Definitely fallen off. You can see in the last 14 days, Baltimore's 8th in ERA, 6th in expected FIP. Phillies are 16th and then 30th in expected FIP. So bullpen edge definitely goes to Baltimore. They also have both Cano and Batista coming off a day's rest. So I'm definitely on the O's here at plus 115. I'll take it. Give me Baltimore money line next game. Angels at Tigers. Griffin Canning pitching against Erod, Eduardo Rodriguez. Angels open up as very slight favorites here on the road, minus 115. But this is flipped. The Tigers are actually favored now. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we have no lean here as far as sides. We're looking at a 2-2 tie after 5 innings. After 9 innings, 4-4 tie. So Griffin Canning was pitching great. He was on a warpath back in May into June, but those days seem to be in the past. You can see in his last 3 starts, he's got a 6.91 ERA, 153 whip, Expected FIP indicates he's had some bad luck, but no question there's been a serious drop-off in production from his last 3 starts in comparison to the previous 6. And if you look at Griffin Canning's home-away splits, the ERA doesn't show us much, but look at the underlying numbers. 2.1 home runs per 9, 565 FIP. Pretty concerning considering this is a road start here. Now I have some good news for Griffin Canning. He's pitching against the Detroit Tigers lineup. In the last 14 days, Tigers are 25th in WRC+, 26th in isolated power, 26th in on-base percentage. These are their numbers against right-handed pitching. So despite me having some personal doubts about Griffin Canning right now, I think this is a good spot for him. I think he pitches a great game. On the other side, we've got Erod pitching, and kind of tough to get a read on him right now because if you just look at the ERA numbers, in his 11 starts before he got hurt, he had a 2.13 ERA. He was dominating. Since he's been back, he's got a 5.06 ERA in his 3 starts since returning. But look at the expected FIP. He's got a 2.93 in those 3 starts, indicating that he's had some really bad luck and is actually pitching well. So I'm not really worried about Erod as a whole, but this particular spot might be tough because look at the Angels' numbers against left-handed pitching since July 1st. They're 3rd in WRC+, 2nd in isolated power, 5th in on-base percentage. So the Angels lineup has had no problem getting to left-handed pitching recently. And when it comes to betting Angels games, usually what keeps me off them is their bullpen. I don't trust the Angels bullpen at all. But look at the last 14 days here. The Detroit Tigers bullpen has really fallen off a cliff as far as production. The last 14 days, the Angels are 26th in ERA, 15th in expected FIP. Tigers 24th and 20th. So this bullpen matchup looks kind of even. Last 14 days, bit of a small sample size, but still might not be much of an edge here on either side, which means I'm looking at the Angels versus Tigers and I'm getting plus 116 on LA. I don't care how square it is. I don't care how good Erod is. I'm taking it. This is a much better lineup. Give me the Angels money line next game. Florida battle here. We got Miami at Tampa, Marlins at Rays. Edward Cabrera pitching against Tyler Glasnow. Rays open up as pretty heavy favorites here, minus 175 at home. Total opens up at 6.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we got a very slight lean on Tampa here. 2-1 Rays after 5 innings. 4-3 Rays after 9 innings according to the model. So let's tip our hats to Edward Cabrera. He looked great in his last start. He just returned from injury, went into Busch Stadium to pitch against a red-hot Cardinals lineup, pitched great. But as a whole, if you look at his body of work on the season, definitely more vulnerable in his road starts. You can see he's got a 2.61 ERA and a 3.48 FIP at home compared to a 5.93 and a 5.36 on the road. So he's definitely been more vulnerable on the road, like I said. And now he's got to go on the road in Tampa. We all know that hasn't been a fun place to pitch this year. That being said, look at the numbers from the last 14 days. How scary are these numbers really? Tampa against righties in the last 14 days, just 17th in WRC+, 19th in isolated power, 18th in on-base percentage. Certainly not scaring anyone with those numbers. And to take it even further, look at the last 7 righty starters to pitch against Tampa. 39 of the 3rd innings pitched, 2.75 ERA, 1.17 WHIP. These starters aren't having problems pitching against this team. That was Tyler Wells, Grayson Rodriguez, Kyle Bradish, Kyle Gibson, John Gray, Dane Dunning, and Nathan Eovaldi. So some good names in there, but some names that the Rays definitely should be getting to. So this lineup as a whole, definitely not producing at the same rate it was back in May. Now for the good news for Tampa, and this is excellent news. Tyler Glasnow is all the way back, officially all the way back from his injury. Look at his numbers in the last 3 starts. This dude is on a mission. 1.93 ERA. 0.91 WHIP, 2.41 expected FIP, starting to look like the Tyler Glasnow we saw back in 2021 before all that injury nonsense. So it looks like this man is officially back, and we know how good this dude can be. Even better news for Tyler Glasnow, the Marlins are a righty-heavy lineup. They regularly start 6 right-handed bats in their lineup. Look at his splits against right-handed bats. Versus lefties, he's got a 3.55 WOBA, 1.42 WHIP, 1.8 home runs per 9. You can see basically every single number significantly better against right-handed bats. And like I said, Marlins got a bunch of them. And it's not like the Marlins lineup is scaring anyone right now. Keep in mind that they just snapped an 8-game losing streak. The Marlins are 1-8 in their last 9 games. Here are their numbers in the last 14 days. 25th in WRC+, 30th, dead last in isolated power, just 19th in on-base percentage. This is against right-handed pitching, so this lineup shouldn't be scaring anyone right now. So I don't see any reason to doubt Tyler Glasnow in this spot. At home, he should absolutely dominate this Marlins lineup. That being said, I have some doubts about the Rays bats. I don't really know if I can trust them getting to Edward Cabrera. But before we make a bet, let's look at the bullpen matchup too. Definitely advantage goes to Tampa. See, in the last 14 days, the Rays are 7th in ERA, 4th in expected FIP. Marlins in the same time frame, 14th and 18th. And I don't know how the Marlins even have numbers that good because I don't trust a single arm in that. Actually, I like Tanner Scott, but I don't trust Puck. I don't trust Dylan Floro. I don't trust the Marlins bullpen at all. So Rays definitely have the bullpen advantage here. I know a lot of what I just said points to Tampa, but to be honest, at this minus 190 price, just too expensive for me. I don't think there's a ton of value on a Tampa bet here. I like the under, but again, it's all the way down at 7.5. So I guess I'll say under 7.5 or pass for right now. But to be honest, I really want to bet the Marlins. I just don't know if I can personally get there. Let's say under or pass for now. I'll let you know what I decide to do on the live show at 4 p.m. next game. Subway Series, New York Mets at New York Yankees. Justin Verlander pitching against Domingo Germán. Mets open up as slight favorites here on the road, minus 125. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We got a slight lean on the Yanks here. 2-1 Yankees after 5 innings. Final score 4-3 Yankees according to the model. So let's start with Justin Verlander's home away splits because we know this dude has been struggling on the road this year. You can see at Citi Field, he's been great. 2.34 ERA, 0.98 whip. That's at home. On the road, those numbers jump up to a 5.18 and a 1.42. Expected FIP up about a run also. Definitely hesitant to back Justin Verlander on the road this year for sure. That being said, Verlander's been solid against this Yankees team recently. He's pitched against the Yanks 3 times since last year. He's 2-0 with a 1.42 ERA and an 0.63 whip in those 3 starts. So he's dominated the Yanks in the last year or two. And that includes a start earlier this season. He pitched against the Yanks already. Went 6 innings, just 3 hits, 1 run, and no walks. So that was a dominant start. To be fair, that was at home in Citi Field, though. And we're talking about how he's been struggling on the road. Now, as far as the Yankees bats go, we all know how bad this lineup has been recently, especially against right-handed pitching. That being said, we are seeing some signs of life. Look at the numbers in the last 14 days. 15th in WRC+, 23rd in isolated power, 8th in on-base percentage. So nothing great, but in comparison to where they were at a week and a half ago, definitely a huge improvement. Look at the last 4 righty starters to come in and pitch at Yankee Stadium. 22 innings pitched, 6.55 ERA, 286 home runs per 9, 150 whip. So they've been getting to him. That being said, Jordan Lyles, Brady Singer, Alec Marsh, Kyle Hendricks is solid, but not exactly a list of Cy Young candidates. On the other side, we got Domingo Germán pitching, and he's seen some rough times recently. On his last 6 starts, he's got a 6.75 ERA, 127 whip, 5.11 FIP, and this includes a perfect game in there. Over a 6-start span, if you have a 6.75 ERA with one of them being a perfect game, that's a bit concerning. Ready for Germán's numbers in his last 3 home starts? Brace yourself. He's got a 7.24 ERA, 3.3 home runs per 9, 3.3, really struggling to keep the ball in the park, 6.72 FIP. I mean, this dude's been getting absolutely hammered. But one thing you have to say about Domingo Germán, he's had success pitching against this Mets team. In his last 3 starts against the Mets, just like Verlander against the Yankees, Germán's 2-0 with a 2.12 ERA and an 0.94 whip. So he's pitched well against the Mets. And remember when the Mets bats were heating up, they climbed back up to the top 5 or 6 against righties, and it was like, oh shit, here comes the Mets lineup we were expecting. Well, not really looking the same recently. In the last 14 days, just 21st in WRC+, 15th in isolated power, 21st in WOBA. Not exactly lighting the scoreboard up with those numbers. Now let's take a quick look at the bullpen matchup. Really no edge here. I mean, just flip a coin. Both these bullpens have been struggling. The last 14 days, the Mets are 22nd in ERA, 22nd in expected FIP. Yankees are 19th and 17th, so I guess Yankees bullpen has a slight edge, but I wouldn't really call it that. As far as betting the game, I mean, I really could see the Mets grabbing an early lead, then blowing it. That's just how I see this going. So I'd say the Yankees, I mean, the value's probably on the Yankees at plus money at home. So I'll say Yankees money line at plus 110. Don't exactly love it. I want to see what the line does, so I'll let you know a final decision on the live show. But for now, I'm saying Yankees are pass. Next game. Colorado at Washington. Rockies at Nats. Austin Gomer pitching against Trevor Williams. Washington opens up as minus 140 favorites here at home. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a slight lean on Washington. 4-3 Nats after 5 innings. Final score 6-5 Nats. So straight up, the Washington Nationals own Austin Gomer. The Nats' current bats are hitting lifetime combined 359 off Gomer with a 1047 OPS. Yeah, they've dominated this dude. Austin Gomer's last 2 starts against Washington were both disasters. In his last 2, he's 0-2 with a 1950 ERA and a whip at an even 3. Truly terrible. Now, some good news for the Rockies. Austin Gomer definitely has way better splits on the road. without question. He's got a 7.19 ERA and a 1.57 whip at home at Coors Field. On the road, he's got a much more respectable 4.65 ERA and 1.33 whip. So that's something for the Rockies to hang their hats on. Another positive for the Rockies is Austin Gomer's been far better against right-handed bats. You can see his splits here. WOBA, home runs per 9 is in half. Whip is far lower. 5.11 FIP against righties compared to an 8.10 against lefties. The reason I bring that up is the Nationals are projected to have 7 righties in their lineup. So despite having terrible success against this team, he has been good on the road, and he has been good against righties, and the Nats are going to have a lineup full of righties. So that's something for the Rockies. Is that enough to trust him here? Probably not. I mean, and it gets even worse considering the Nats have been tattooing left-handed pitching. Since July 1st, Washington's 6th in WRC+, 3rd in isolated power, and 10th in on-base percentage against left-handed pitching. But before we go and hammer Washington, let's take a look at Trevor Williams' recent starts at home because he's really gone downhill. This is Trevor Williams' starts at home. You can see through his first 4 home starts of the season, he had a 2.55 ERA, 1.13 whip. On the last 5, though, 5.20 and 1.48. Definitely a huge drop-off there. Now, I do have some good news for Trevor Williams, and that's the Colorado Rockies lineup. On the last 14 days, the Rockies are dead last in WRC+. 14th in isolated power, but most of that's probably due to the fact that a lot of their games are played at Coors Field. Dead last in on-base percentage. So I want to fade Trevor Williams. I don't trust him at all right now. But I don't know if we can 100% count on the Rockies' bats to score. Well, I'm going to say I like the Rockies to score 2 or 3 runs here in the first 5. So I think they get to them a little bit. Now, check this out. This is where this game gets interesting. Let's look at the bullpen matchup. Look how good the Rockies bullpen. The Rockies bullpen has been silently dominant. In the last 14 days, the Rockies bullpen is 3rd with a 1.80 ERA and 8th in expected FIP. The Nats dead last with a 9.56 ERA and 28th in expected FIP. So just judging by the last 2 weeks, we're looking at one of the hottest bullpens in baseball against maybe the worst, or I wouldn't say maybe, probably the worst bullpen. So I will not bet Washington at this price. Keep in mind, the Rockies are now 5-2 in their last 7. They're winning some games. I want to see what the line does here. I'm hoping action comes in on the Nats and gives me a better price. So I'm going to say Rockies money line at plus 125 for now, but I might end up passing on this one. I'll let you know on the live show next game. Rangers at Astros. We got Cody Bradford pitching. I think it's Cody Bradford at least. We're not sure. As of right now, it looks like it might be Cody Bradford pitching against JP France. We have no line and no total open for this one, indicating that the pitching situation in Texas is still a question mark. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and if Cody Bradford pitches, the model's saying 3-2 Rangers after 5 innings, final score 5-4 Rangers. So obviously I'm going to pass on this one for now. I don't want to do any work on this until I know who's definitely pitching. I'm almost definitely going to bet this game, though. I had Astros for a full unit last night, so that was nice. I'll let you know what I end up doing on the live show at 4 p.m. next game. Cubs at White Sox. Kyle Hendricks pitching against Michael Kopech. White Sox open up as minus 140 favorites here, but this one's dropped all the way down to about a pick'em. Total opens up at 8.5. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and according to the model, we got a pretty solid lead in the Cubbies here. 4-1 Cubs after 5 innings. Final score 6-3 Cubs. So Michael Kopech's been struggling a bit, to say the least. In his last 5 starts, he's got a 5.30 ERA and a 2.20 whip. FIP up at 8.27. I mean, these numbers are just awful. This is actually indicating that he's been lucky to have that 5.30 ERA. And you might think that this Cubs lineup would be an easy matchup for Kopech here, but the Cubs have been hitting again. This lineup's been running hot and cold all season, but in the last 30 days, they're 9th in WRC plus and 10th in OPS against right-handed pitching. And it gets even better if you isolate it to just the last 7 days. Check this out. Cubs in the last 7 days, 2nd in OPS, 2nd in WRC plus against righties. You really can't sleep on this Cubs lineup right now. And with Kopech pitching the way he's been throwing, you got to think we're going to see a couple runs from the Cubbies early in this one. On the other side, we've got Kyle Hendricks, and I know the Yankees and Red Sox starts were bad. But here are his last 10 starts on a chart, and you can see that those 2 are clearly outliers. This man's been consistently good for a month and a half, 2 months now. Another angle I like for Kyle Hendricks is his home-away splits. Check out that 2.53 ERA on the road. Looks amazing. Now, his FIP and expected FIP numbers indicate that he hasn't been quite that good, but still, he's made 5 road starts, and he's got an 0.84 whip in those 5 starts. So that's solid as hell. So more good news for Kyle Hendricks is he gets to pitch against the White Sox. Look at this lineup's numbers at home since July 1st. This has been the worst home lineup in baseball. Dead last in OPS, dead last in isolated power, dead last in WRC+. And it gets even better for Kyle Hendricks. I'm not even done. Let's switch it over to look at the White Sox numbers against righties since July 1st. They also can't touch right-handed pitching. We're talking about 28th in OPS, 27th in WRC+. So say what you want about Kyle Hendricks. I don't think there's any reason to doubt him to pitch well in this spot. Bullpen-wise, we're looking at a pretty even matchup here. Both of these bullpens have been just average. Cubs bullpen was really hot about a month and a half ago. They've cooled off in a major way. So really no edge either way here. In the last 14 days, White Sox are 21st in ERA, 15th in expected FIP. Cubs are 18th and 20th. So I don't know how we can pass up the Cubs in this one. I would imagine the public's going to come in pretty heavy on the Cubs. So it's definitely on the square side, but I can't get there with the White Sox. So I'm going to roll with the Cubbies on the money line. Next game. Reds at Brewers. Andrew Abbott versus Corbin Burns again. I feel like we've seen this matchup 7 or 8 times in the last month. Milwaukee opens up as minus 140 favorites at home here. Total opens up at 8. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and we have no lean in the first 5. We're looking at a 1-1 tie after 5 innings. Final score, 3-2 Brewers. Here are Andrew Abbott's 9 starts this season. Obviously, this kid's been dominant. The red line indicates his earned runs numbers, but I want you to look at his FIP and expected FIP numbers. That's the white and blue lines here. Consistently higher than his earned runs numbers, indicating that this kid's had a ton of good luck this season. And he's pitching against the Milwaukee Brewers lineup for the 4th time already. 4th. This kid Abbott has made 9 career starts. 3 of them have been against the Milwaukee Brewers. And in his 3 starts against Milwaukee, he's got a 4.41 ERA, which isn't awful. But again, the FIP and expected FIP numbers up at 5.92 and 5.51. That is not good. And not only have the Brewers bats seen Abbott 3 times already, but they've also been hitting the shit out of left-handed pitching. Since July 1st, the Brewers are top 10 in basically every offensive category against lefties, 6th in OPS, 8th in WRC+. So as good as this kid Abbott is, I mean, I can't help but think this is a very dangerous spot for him on the road in Milwaukee. On the other side, we've got Corbin Burns, and the Reds just never are able to hit this dude. Since being added to the Brewers starting rotation back in 2020, Corbin Burns has made 8 starts against Cincinnati. He's 4-0 with a 2.34 ERA, an 0.94 WHIP, and a 3.14 expected FIP. Corbin Burns absolutely owns the Reds. And check this out. The current Reds lineup, lifetime, they're hitting just 127 off Corbin Burns. 14 hits and 110 at bats, just a 191 slugging percentage and a 417 OPS. Again, Corbin Burns truly owns the Cincinnati Reds franchise. And then you add on the fact that we're dealing with one of the hottest bullpens in baseball in the Milwaukee Brewers against a bullpen that's really struggling recently in the Cincinnati Reds. I don't know how I'm going to pass up on Milwaukee here. Now, the minus 155, minus 160 price, I'm not crazy about it, but I'm not taking Cincinnati here. I'm going to say Brewers are passed for now. I might find a way to bet them on the live show at 4 p.m. I will let you know. Next game. Pirates at Padres. We got Rich Hill pitching against Blake Snell. Lefty-lefty matchup here. No line open for this one. No total open for this one at the time of recording this. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And if these are the starting pitchers, we're looking at a 3-2 score in favor of the Padres after 5 innings. Final score 5-3 Padres. I'm going to skip this one for now. No line, no total. Sometimes that means the starting pitcher is going to change, so I'll wait. I might have a bet for this one on the live show at 4 p.m. Next game. Cardinals at D-backs. Steven Matz pitching against Zach Gallen, and this is another game where we have no line and no total open. I'm recording this around 10:45 p.m. Eastern time. I got nothing. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We're looking at 4-1 cards after 5 innings. Final score 6-3 cards. So yeah, I got to pass on this one too. No line, no total. I don't know if these are definitely going to be the starting pitchers. Tune in to the live show at 4 p.m. and I'll give out a bet for this one. Next game. Oakland at San Francisco. A's Giants. Big Ken's on the mound. Ken Waldichuk, or I think he's going to be, pitching against Alex Cobb. Another game, 3 in a row, no line, no total. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet, and if these two are the pitchers that we're going to see, we're looking at 4-2 Giants after 5 innings. Final score 6-3 Giants. So yeah, 3 in a row I have to pass here. I don't want to make all the graphics and make this whole video just to find out they switched the starting pitchers. So I might have a bet for this one on the live show at 4 p.m., but skipping it for now. Next game. Blue Jays at Dodgers. We got Chris Bassett pitching against Julio Urias. Dodgers open up as minus 150 favorites here. Total opens up at 9. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. We're looking at 4-2 Dodgers after 5 innings. Final score 6-4 Dodgers. So like I said, we got Chris Bassett on the mound, and let's start by taking a look at his home away splits. And you can see, without a doubt, he's got some ugly looking splits on the road this year. 2.24 ERA at home is excellent. Jumps all the way up to a 5.81 on the road. FIP jumps up about 3 full runs. WHIP is nearly doubled. I mean, without a doubt, no question, Chris Bassitt has been much more reliable at home. And this isn't new either. This dates back to last year when he was with the Mets as well. Chris Bassitt's just more reliable at home. And look specifically at his last 2 road starts. He made 2 road starts in July. He's got a 5.40 ERA, 3.93 WOBA, 160 WHIP. You might be wondering why I pulled these numbers up, because you want to know which 2 teams he pitched against here: at Detroit and at White Sox. These lineups on the season are 27th and 28th against right-handed pitching, and Chris Bassitt still struggled. So yeah, this dude on the road is just really shaky. And now he's going to try to pitch in Dodgers Stadium? Look at the Dodgers numbers against right-handed pitching in July. First in OPS, first in isolated power, first in WRC+. You can argue that this is the best lineup in baseball right now against righties, so I just don't see any way we could put our trust in Chris Bassitt here in this spot. On the other side, we got Urias pitching, and let's start off with his overweight splits, because just like Bassitt, he's got some wild-looking ones. He's got a 7.88 ERA on the road this year, drops all the way to a 2.15 at home. WHIP, FIP, and expected FIP, all less than half at home. So Urias has been significantly better at home this year. But we are dealing with the Toronto Blue Jays bats, and not only do we know that they can score runs on the road, but we've also seen this Toronto lineup start to hit lefties as well. Since July 1st, the Blue Jays are 10th in OPS, 4th in WRC+. Power numbers are crazy low. Somehow just dead last in isolated power, but still top 10 in most offensive categories against lefties. So this Blue Jays lineup is not to be slept on against left-handed pitching. Earlier in the season, maybe a little, but not recently. That being said, Toronto's got to be doing most of that damage against lefty bullpen arms, because the Blue Jays have only seen 3 lefty starters since July 1st. Blake Snell pitched a good game. Yeah, they did score 3 runs on Tommy Henry, so they got to Tommy Henry a little bit, but the other one's Tariq Skubal. He threw 4 shutout innings. So the Jays may have some good numbers against left-handed pitching, but they really haven't gotten to any starters. Bullpen-wise, both these units have been good. So as much as I would love to go sharp and take the Blue Jays at a big plus price, I'm just not seeing it here. I think the Dodgers are going to get to Bassitt, so I'm going with the Dodgers. Maybe lay the -1.5. I'll let you know the final decision on the live show at 4 p.m. If anything changes with any of these bets, I will let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Like I mentioned a couple times, live show 4 p.m. tomorrow. Toast is going to be with me. Lord BLT is going to be with me from Gold Boys. So all 3 of us will go through all 15 games, make our final decisions, cover the line movement, all that. If you're able to make it at 4 p.m., would love to see you in the comments. If you're interested in the final tickets, which has my top bets, every single bet I'm making for the day, how much I'm putting on it, parlay of the day, the private VIP chat for live bets, that kind of stuff. If you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com. MLB Tuesday, second best baseball betting day of the week, if you ask me. We got a loaded slate. Remember to bet responsibly. I'll see you on the live show at 4 p.m. Talk to you on Twitter.